US warships will continue operating wherever international law allows. That was the Pentagon's statement this week, after Venezuela accused the US Navy of provocations in the Caribbean. Now it is 2:10 a.m. local time. The sea north of Venezuela is black and quiet. No moon, no wind. Moving through the darkness at a steady 20 knots is the US Navy's most powerful warship, the aircraft carrier Gerald R. Its lights are low, its radios are silent. To the outside world, this looks routine. Then the radar picture changes. 6 fast-moving contacts appear from the south, small, low profile, closing fast at more than 40 knots. No identification, no radio calls. The distance drops quickly, 36 miles, 30, 25. Instead of turning away, the vessels angle directly toward the carrier's path. This is not an accident. This is not civilian traffic. These are Venezuelan patrol boats moving with intent, pushing straight toward a US carrier strike group in international waters. On the ford, alarms do not blare, voices stay calm, but posture shifts. 2 destroyers slide outward to shield the carrier. Crew members move faster now. Screens tighten. Timers start counting down. This is the moment where small decisions become big ones. Because what the approaching boats believe is a single US ship is something very different. They are closing on the wrong target, and they have no idea how close they are to forcing a response that cannot be taken back. If you want to follow this confrontation second by second, make sure you subscribe now. What is happening here is bigger than 6 patrol boats and 1 carrier. This stretch of the Caribbean has become one of the most sensitive pressure points in the region. Oil routes run through it. Surveillance aircraft cross it daily. Every radar on both sides stays active around the clock. Nothing moves without being watched. For Venezuela, allowing a US carrier group to operate nearby looks like weakness at home. It feeds a political narrative that foreign powers are pushing closer, testing limits, seeing what will be tolerated. Sending patrol boats is not about firepower. It is about visibility, about being seen, pushing back. For the US Navy, this is about something very different. It is about freedom of movement. International waters mean exactly that. If a carrier backs away under pressure from small craft, the signal spreads far beyond this coast. Other actors notice. Other regions take notes. And then there are the people inside the steel. For the sailors on the ford, this is not a headline or a speech. It is a dark ocean and fast-moving dots closing the distance. It is knowing that even a lightly armed boat, if misread, can force a split-second decision that changes lives. Training tells them what to do. Discipline tells them when not to act. That is why this moment matters. Because it is not about who fires first. It is about who controls the situation when everything is pushing toward chaos. And this is where the real question forms. If you believe the US presence here is justified and necessary, press 1. If you think Venezuela had the right to challenge it, press 9. Drop your number now and make sure you are subscribed, because what happens next shows how close this came to going very wrong. At 2:07 a.m., the Combat Information Center aboard the Gerald R shifts into full focus. The room stays quiet, but everything speeds up. Radar returns tighten. 6 contacts now confirmed. Small hulls, high speed, erratic movement. Not civilian. A radar operator leans closer to the screen. The symbols change color. What was green turns yellow, then red. That means intent. That means someone on the other end is making a choice. The watch officer gives a short order. No shouting, no hesitation. Increase readiness. Get eyes on. Minutes later, 2 MH-60 Seahawk helicopters lift off the deck and disappear into the darkness. Their job is simple and dangerous. Identify the contacts. Confirm what radar already suspects. On an open radio channel, a calm voice cuts through the static. Unidentified surface vessels. This is a US Navy warship operating in international waters. You are approaching a restricted area. Alter course immediately. There is no response. The boats keep coming. Inside the carrier, the sense of time changes. Distances matter more than words now. 20 miles, 15, 10. Each update tightens the room. Every person knows the playbook, but no one knows how the other side will act. Then, electronic sensors spike. One of the Venezuelan boats activates fire control radar. Not a search signal, a lock. The electronic warfare officer doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. We're being painted. That single sentence carries weight. Defensive systems come alive. Phalanx mounts rotate. CRAM aligns. Cameras lock onto the approaching hulls. Everything is ready, but nothing fires. The helicopters confirm it visually. 6 armed patrol boats in tight formation. No fishing gear. No confusion. This is deliberate. The carrier group holds position. Radio silence returns. The message is clear without words. We see you. We are ready. This is the point where restraint becomes the most dangerous decision of all. One wrong move from either side will decide the next headline. If you're watching this and thinking this situation should never have reached this point, press 1. If you think the US Navy should have responded more forcefully right here, press 9. Leave your number and stay subscribed, because the next moments are where everything nearly breaks. The distance keeps closing, and now there is no room for misunderstanding. The 6 patrol boats slow just enough to spread out, forming a loose line ahead of the carrier's path. Their wakes overlap in the dark water. Engines idle high, ready to surge at a second's notice. On the ford, no one speaks unless necessary. In moments like this, silence is part of control. The destroyers Thomas Hudner and Ramage slide farther out, placing steel between the carrier and the approaching craft. Their movement is smooth, practiced, almost routine, but the stakes are anything but. At sea, small changes matter. A slight turn, a brief speed increase, even a few degrees can signal attack or retreat. Right now, everything is balanced on that edge. A green flare launches into the night sky from the US formation. It arcs upward, burning bright before falling back toward the ocean. This is not a warning shot. It is an international signal, a final demand to alter course. The Venezuelan boats do not turn. One of them begins to accelerate. Its bow lifts as the engine roars louder, pushing the craft forward at more than 40 knots. The range counter spins down fast. 3 miles, 2, 1.5. The closing speed leaves little time for debate. Inside the combat center, a short exchange moves across the room. Contact accelerating. Track steady. Weapons standing by. No one raises their voice. They don't need to. Every person in that room understands exactly what happens if the next threshold is crossed. Defensive systems are locked and ready. Sensors feed clean data. The ship is prepared to protect itself. Out on the water, the Venezuelan crew can now see the shape ahead of them. Not a lone ship, not a simple target. A massive silhouette stretching across the horizon, flanked by escorts. The radar picture on their screens grows crowded, distorted by interference and reflections they were not expecting. For a few seconds, everything feels suspended. No waves crash loud enough to break the tension. No radios speak. The ocean itself seems to wait. This is the moment where escalation stops being theory. It becomes physics, distance, speed, reaction time. And with the boats still charging, everyone involved understands the same truth. Whatever happens next will define how this night is remembered. Then, just before the point of no return, something changes. The lead Venezuelan boat suddenly cuts power. Its bow drops hard into the water. A sharp turn to the left throws spray across the deck and breaks the formation. For half a second, the other boats hesitate, unsure whether to follow or continue forward. That hesitation says everything. One boat turns back, then another. Within moments, the tight formation unravels into confusion. Engines roar in different directions. Wakes cross and overlap as the group pulls away, retreating south toward Venezuelan waters. No shots are fired, no missiles launch, but the decision has already been made. What forced the turn was not fear, it was realization. At close range, the crews could finally see what radar had failed to show earlier. This was not a lone US destroyer they could pressure and push back. This was a full carrier strike group, layered with defenses, helicopters overhead, weapons uncovered, and sensors tracking every move. The mistake becomes clear too late. The data they trusted was wrong. The picture they believed in was incomplete. And by the time the truth appeared, they were already deep inside a situation they could not control. On the Gerald R. Ford, there is no celebration. The watches hold. The weapons stay trained. Discipline does not end just because the threat is pulling away. The most dangerous moment is often when one side decides to disengage. As the distance opens, the tension does not disappear. It lingers. Everyone involved knows how close this came to crossing a line that cannot be uncrossed. And this is the question that matters now. If you think Venezuela made a serious mistake by pushing this far, press 1. If you believe the US Navy should have sent a stronger message at this moment, press 9. Leave your number and stay subscribed, because the most critical decision of the night is still ahead. For a few long seconds, no one is sure it is really over. On the Gerald R. Ford, every sensor stays locked south. The retreating boats are still close enough to turn back. The range opens slowly. 1,000 yards, 1,500, 2,000. No one relaxes. Not yet. Inside the Combat Information Center, the captain's voice comes through, calm and controlled. Maintain course and speed. Do not pursue. That order matters. Chasing would change the story. Chasing could turn a retreat into a collision. Holding steady keeps control where it belongs. The defensive systems remain hot. Phalanx barrels track smoothly. C-RAM stays aligned. Cameras follow the shrinking shapes until their wakes blur into the dark water. The helicopters hover just far enough to watch without provoking another reaction. This is the peak of the night. Not the charge, not the turn. The seconds after, when everyone knows how close it came. Because if one engine had surged again, if one radar had stayed locked, the response would not have been a warning flare. The systems on board the carrier do not negotiate. They react. And once that happens, there is no pause button. On the bridge, the ocean looks calm again. That is the illusion of the sea. It hides how fast things can change. The Ford continues forward at 20 knots, steady and predictable, exactly as doctrine demands. Slowly, the contacts fade. 5 miles, 10, 15. The electronic noise drops. The threat no longer feels immediate, but it still feels real. No one cheers, no one high-fives. Professional crews do not mark success with noise. They mark it by returning to routine without mistake. This night will not be remembered for explosions or wreckage. It will be remembered for restraint, for the decision not to fire when every system was ready, for the discipline to let the moment pass instead of forcing an ending. Because sometimes the most powerful action at sea is choosing not to act, even when you are fully capable of doing so. By first light, the Gerald R. Ford is already clear of the encounter area, moving northwest at a steady 20 knots. On board, watches rotate and routine resumes. No celebrations, no speeches. Just quiet professionalism from a crew that understands how close the night came to changing everything. But beyond the ship, the narrative begins to shift. In Venezuela, state media airs short, grainy footage from a patrol boat camera, dark shapes on the horizon. Captions claim the US fleet was pushed back. The clip spread quickly across social media, long before details or context can catch up, shaping public perception before facts are fully known. In Washington, the response is calm and controlled. No heated words, only data. Satellite images, tracking records, timestamps. A clear record showing the carrier group stayed in international waters and never altered course under pressure. The message is simple and firm, aimed as much at allies as at rivals. Behind closed doors, diplomats move fast. Quiet channels open to prevent public claims from turning into lasting damage. Regional commands raise readiness without drawing attention. Everyone involved understands the same thing. This was not a fight, it was a test. And tests do not happen just once. This night shows how modern conflict often begins. Not with missiles, but with misread screens, outdated systems, and leaders pushing limits to send a signal. When that happens, the side that keeps discipline keeps control. The sea looks calm again, but the tension remains. The next encounter may come faster, with less room to turn away and less time to decide. If you believe the US handled this the right way by staying calm and controlled, press 1. If you think a stronger response is needed to stop future challenges, press 9. Drop your number and stay subscribed, because this region is far from quiet.